So I need to have a moment for confession. And I've had absolution. Tim Whitmer went to all those years of Catholic school, so we figured that was good for something. So he offered absolution at 8:30 service this morning. Moment of confession. You know, for the last 5 weeks, we have been going through the building blocks of our life together, the building blocks of our community. And I said to Grace this week, who does all of our stuff that makes the beauty of the space, that adds to my words. I said to Grace, we need to do something different with the blocks, because the part of the story here in Mark's gospel says, Peter says, Jesus, we should build a thing here to remember this moment. And Jesus basically says no. So I said, we need to do something a little different with the blocks to represent that. And Grace says, yeah, I got it. So Grace comes in this week, and she takes and she builds this little wall, and she brings this silver lame, and drapes it all over. It was gorgeous. But I, in my infinite wisdom, decided I knew better than Grace. Jonathan, don't tell her, wherever Jonathan went. So by Friday, I was looking at it and I thought, gosh, the silver lame is kind of lame, And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know that I can sit through worship with the silver lame. It's a lot. I mean, I know I'm a lot, but it's a lot. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back, and there's a little closet right back there, right behind where Zach is sitting. And I'm going to dig around in the fabric closet and see what I can find, to kind of soften it up a little. And the first thing I found was this beautiful piece of blue. The choir can't see, right? And it felt like the sky to me in this story. Like it's this beautiful spring day, and you're all spread out on the lawn of the Nelson, and you're looking up, and you see the beautiful blue and the clouds, nothing like today. And I thought, oh, that'll be great. But it was just this little piece. I thought, oh, I can tuck it in here. And then I found this bluish, greenish color. It also kind of felt like the sky to me. And so I kind of tucked it in, so that the lame was still kind of peeking out, and kind of brought it around, and, just so to soften the lame. And I thought, oh, that's so much better. And then I thought, and Grace will never know. Because it all comes down tomorrow, and she's not putting up Lent till Friday. And y'all, you got it. Next Sunday, I'm so excited about next Sunday. Ooh. Anyway, okay. So, yesterday, I'm here for Conchita Reyes' memorial service. And I'm coming through the sanctuary, and what do? I stop, and I think, well, I'll be dang. What did I do? Peter, I tried to soften the lame. In the same way that Peter tries to soften Jesus in this story. This big, huge, magical, bright, shiny, I have this image of the transfiguration moment, and it's like silver lame explodes all over everybody. And what does Peter do? Peter says, oh, Jesus, that's kind of a lot. We should kind of ground things here on earth, right? Let's build a memorial, and, we'll get some blocks, and we'll do that, and then maybe that'll temper this bright, shiny thing that just happens, and it'll feel a little more comfortable to us, and we'll feel a little safer as opposed to all the silver lame that just exploded all over everything. So, don't tell Grace I put it out. We're going to toss it down here, sort of like Elijah's robe that falls down from the sky, lest we diminish or dull the bright and the power of Jesus. Peter, it's not the first time that Peter tries to tamper down Jesus. Just a few verses earlier in chapter 8, he does the same thing. Here in chapter 9, this beginning story, high church folks call it Transformation Sunday, as Reverend Seuss said. That's like a $5 word. It's always the final Sunday before we turn ourselves inward and begin the season of Lent. And this story in Mark is the exact halfway point in Mark's gospel. There are those of you who are theologically educated know that there are 16 chapters in the Gospel of Mark, and this is the halfway point. For the first 8 chapters, we've been building. We've been climbing. It's been the stories of Jesus' ministry and all the wow moments of Jesus healing people, Jesus loving people, all the things that Jesus is doing. And after this moment, we follow the story of Jesus turning towards Jerusalem and the descent towards death. For 8 chapters, we've been climbing. And this seems to be the moment for the disciples when maybe they and maybe we can begin to understand what this journey has been about. And we think it's this pinnacle moment up on top of this mountain. And then Jesus, because he's Jesus and he does these annoying things, right? He starts talking about death. Don't you hate it? I say that all the time. Don't you hate it when Jesus does that stuff? I'm losing my mic. From this mountaintop experience, the disciples begin to be able to see backward to where they've been and forward to where they are going. And just like the silver lame frightened me by the end of the week, they were a little afraid. And they needed to soften the edges. And puzzled, it uses the word puzzled, that they were puzzled by what Jesus meant about rising from the dead. It seems they're more than puzzled. I have no doubt they were scared and confused, and especially when you know that this starts just a few verses earlier when Jesus begins to tell them the first of 3 stories about how they would experience him being rejected and suffering and die. And then 6 days later, he takes them up this mountain for a story that seems like it could be a Patronus out of a Harry Potter book or movie. If you don't know what a Patronus is, I'm going to let you look it up. But the Patronus is basically the big, shiny gold lame. The light, the shiny, that is so bright that the darkness cannot overcome it. And only the greatest of the wizards have the ability to produce their Patronus. And this thing happens that is so mysterious and so magical, you can't hardly believe it's true because it's so overwhelming. And this week I got a new appreciation for our beloved Peter. Peter trying to tamper down Jesus just like I did. But it seems Peter maybe began to catch a glimpse of what was actually happening. And Jesus basically says to them, what goes up must come down. Anybody watch the Olympics Friday night? Nobody? Yes? Yeah, the gosh, you guys are quiet today. The sun's out. The sun came out and the snow stopped, but y'all are really quiet today. It's because Reverend Ryan's gone, I know. You like him better. I like him better too. So at the Olympics, we're watching the Olympics on Friday night, and they're playing these two-sided drums. Aiden, what are those called? Those two-sided drum things? They probably music people have a fancy name for them. I don't know. That was putting you on the spot. I'm sorry. These two-sided drum things. And the announcer begins to explain that they remind us, they're symbols of the yin and the yang. The balance of the universe. And that one representation of the yin and the yang is the sunny side of the mountain and the dark side of the mountain. You come up one side and you go down the other. And that's what the disciples are experiencing here. For 8 chapters, they've been going up the front side of the mountain, the sunny side of the mountain with Jesus. And now we get to this turning point, and Jesus is asking them to go back down the shady side. That's what Lent is, my friends. Lent is the shady side of the mountain. Normally we get to Christmas, and Christmas is, it's shiny and happy, and we sing all the fun songs, and we love it. And then we get to Lent, and it's like, oh my gosh, Jonathan's going to play all those drudgery hymns, and it's going to be awful, right? This is Jesus' version of the yin and the yang. What goes up must come down. And we want to stay like Peter up on the mountain and build a thing. We want to stay in the first 8 chapters of Matthew where the miracles are great and the healings are a wow. But here in this passage, as we turn towards Lent, Jesus challenges us to do more. There's an old hymn. There's an old hymn, and it talks about Jesus walked this lonesome valley. You know the song? Anybody know the song? Again, are you awake? Gosh, sleep today. You know the song, choir? I can see, yeah. We're not going to sing it because I don't like it. We're not, and I don't think it's theologically true. Because I think part of what this story reminds us is that Jesus gets his besties to the top of the mountain and gives them a hint of what's going to happen so that he won't have to walk that lonesome valley by himself, that they will go back down the backside of the mountain with him, and he doesn't have to do it alone. If only we can stand the shiny silver lame and walk down the backside of the mountain into the descent of death. Even with their feeble little brains, Jesus, multiple times here, gives them this notion, tries to plant this seed that this thing is going to happen. Anybody do much hiking or mountain climbing? A little bit. Jake Steitz, which is easier? Please answer correctly. I didn't prep him on this. What's the most difficult side of the mountain to do? The front, the going up, or the coming down? Coming down. Coming down is much harder than going up. When you're going up, it's fun, right? Because you're excited to get to the top and see what happens and to see the gorgeous view. And only when you get up there, years ago I was hiking in Tucson and I was by myself and I got to the top of the mountain and I looked back down and I thought, oh, that wasn't very smart. That was not very safe. And I'm up here all alone. And I did confess to my sweetie later that I had done it, and honestly, he wasn't very happy with me. But only when I got up there to the top could I really see where I'd been and where I was going. And yes, coming down was a heck of a lot harder because I knew that there were places full of ice and snow. Going up, it's just one foot in front of the other, taking each moment as it comes. And that's where the disciples have been for 8 chapters. One foot in front of the other, following Jesus towards whatever was coming next. Isn't this fun? Until Jesus does a Jesus thing and says, down. And I need you to go with me. So as we turn towards Lent this week, I'm going to tell you now, it's going to be hard. It's been hard for me in planning it. We have 6 words from David White's book called Consolations. We're going to be redefining old words. Words like regret and nostalgia, vulnerability, that sometimes are hard for us and that we bring baggage to. Anybody got anything they regret? And you know, there is another old song, and I think choir's going to sing it next week. Something about an old rugged cross that once was a symbol of suffering and shame. If it's a symbol of suffering and shame, why do you wear it in a shiny gold necklace and put it around your neck? Because it means something different to you, right? Because of the love of God, because of the life of Jesus, it means something different. It's the other side of the yin and the yang. Because of the love of God, it has been made transformed into a symbol of life and hope and love. And over the next 6 weeks, you're going to have the opportunity to hang your own stuff, your baggage, up on the cross of Jesus. And if you will be so bold, and if you will be so brave as to come down the backside of the mountain, down the shady side of the mountain, and offer your stuff, maybe, just maybe, by the time we get to Easter, God might do something with that. And there might be transformation and transfiguration and new life. But it won't be easy. It's easy to sing "Give Me Jesus" on the good days. It's more hard to sing it coming down the backside of the mountain. But here's the deal. Just like Jesus asks the disciples to walk it with him, challenges them really to walk it with him, Jesus challenges us to walk it too. And the good news is, the promise of the gospel is that if we'll walk it, Jesus promises to walk it with us, and we will not be alone. I mentioned David White's little book. He writes about memory. Memory is the crossroads where our future diverges according to how we interpret and how we live into the story we've inherited. Memory is a living connection between what has been, what is, and what is about to be. Memory creates and influences what is about to happen and has little to do with what we quaintly call the past. Jesus is inviting the disciples into this moment, this silver lame moment, showing them the bright side of the symbol, giving that to them to hold on to as they come down the backside, because the light overcomes the darkness. Always. That's the promise of Easter. If only you'll commit first to the backside called Lent. May we do it together. Amen.